And Dr. Barrett questions us too. I wonder if we do. And that brings us back to Donnie. Donnie, who crashed the Baptist gathering, was no stranger to this plight of feeling voiceless, of being marginalized, or being looked down upon. When he was not at the church, he would wander the 5 Points area of Birmingham, asking for help for anyone who may look his way. Dr. Barrett says he can remember seeing him with tiny bruises on his face, put there by a suited man who threw a handful of pennies in his face at point-blank range. He says he can remember telling him to make sure he looked in someone's eyes when he asked for help. And Donnie saying, imagine an entire day where no one's eyes will meet yours because no one wants to look you in the face. And then Donnie told him about how frightening some nights it is to live on the streets, where screams are commonplace enough that no one would ever look up to identify the source. But often Donnie would find his way back to the church, and there he would be found by those who would watch out for him and tried to minister to him. He knew that among those sinners there was always a place for him at the table. It was a bit awkward, though, on that day when he stumbled into the room with our new guests and prospective members. A middle-aged woman had her hair finely fixed and a pearl necklace on, made a nervous attempt at conversation with him that day. She says, Donnie, this is such a beautiful old church, especially the sanctuary. What is your favorite part of it? And Donnie looked at her with bleary eyes and said, hey, I don't play favorites. I love all of you. None of them in the room were quite sure what he meant, and most of them assumed that his words were filtering through an inebriated haze. Oh, the woman attempted to clarify. I mean the sanctuary where we just worship together? Oh, said Donnie with his crooked grin. Well, I mean the sanctuary you give me. I don't play favorites. I love all of you. I'm still not sure if Donnie was sober when he said that, but upon hearing it, the rest of us were. Sometimes the gospel is sobering. Sometimes pastors and anybody, a layperson, have things that happen to them that no one would ever believe. Sometimes the pastor will have the gospel handed to them when they least expect it. And that happened to me yesterday. I'm sure some of you have heard about it or seen it on Facebook, but in case you haven't, I will tell the story. We had a wedding celebration here yesterday for Marty Queen's youngest daughter, Alice, and her new husband, Jeff. And once the wedding ceremony was finished, we made our way to the shelter behind the church to let paper lanterns go and start taking pictures. I waited near one of the back doors, assisting guests as they tried to figure out where our bathrooms were located and how to get back to the sanctuary. As I was talking to some of the guests, a man exited the church dressed all in black, with his hair dyed black and blonde, with a different style that I've ever seen before in my life. Pants full of zippers, and wearing a backpack. He started to speak to a guest close to the door until he spotted me dressed just like this in my room, just a few feet away from him. And he came to me and said, I want to talk to you. Are you the keeper of the lost and found? And I was startled. Lost and found? I'm thinking, I've never seen you before a day in my life. What could you have possibly lost at the church? And then other thoughts began to flood my mind. Things like, oh no, could there be more people downstairs and he is just a distraction so that the bridal party's items could be stolen from the basement? Or perhaps he was there to scope out the building. And had he already taken anything? When I finally got my thoughts to stop long enough, I finally asked him, well, what is it that you're looking for? My hatchet, he said. Yeah, I know, my hatchet, not what you expect to hear. I left it on the front steps a few months ago, and I came back to get it. A hatchet. Really? You lost a hatchet here at the church. Well, I told him we didn't really have anything like that. And as a matter of fact, we don't exactly have a lost and found box or anything to that nature. And then I proceeded to ask him why it was that he would have a hatchet on church property. And with that question, he walked away. So a few of us split up. 2 people went around the church to see if they could catch him in the front, and a few of us went to the basement to make sure that things didn't seem to be disturbed, or if there were other people, we could ask them to leave. We found nothing out of place. There was no one in the building, and nothing was missing. We all caught up with him again outside the front doors. And he apologized for interrupting the wedding celebration, but said that he really needed to find his hatchet. So I asked him again, why would you have a hatchet on church property? And he just wouldn't give me an answer. This time he decided to leave the property on his bicycle, and we watched him go away. And for those of you who are wondering, oh my gosh, what did you do next? I, of course, called the police and filed a report. They came to look for him, but couldn't find him. We made sure that the building was secure, that the guests were safe, and made a plan for anyone else who may be coming to the church in the coming hours to be safe as well. And I'm not sorry about any of those choices that I made, but I am sorry that I missed an opportunity to be Christ for this young man. Instead, I treated him yesterday as if I was a Pharisee. I judged him. I took one look, and 1,000 thoughts trickled through my mind. Not once am I questioning, did I take time to invite him to church, or to have a relationship with Christ, or offer to meet any need that he may have. He asked me a question, and could have asked anyone in this church a question that we should have been able to answer yes to. Are you the keeper of the lost and found? Yes. Yes, we are the keepers of the lost and found. That is our job as the church. It's our job to welcome all to the table. Those who have been lost but are now found. Those who are lost and maybe don't know it. Those who are the Pharisees and those who are the least. We're to welcome everyone. Not just to welcome them to the table, but to celebrate when we get there. It's at the table that we celebrate, that we have a heavenly banquet, that the angels join us in our rejoicing. Rejoicing is what the gospel is all about this morning. Always rejoice and give thanks to God, that no matter where we may be in the journey, we are still welcome at the table. And no matter what, may we always remember that we are the keepers of the lost and found, and they can be found at the table. Amen.
Amen.